I'm going to predict what is going to happen. Republicans want to lose the midterms, and at this rate, they will most likely lose the midterms. Trump will be impeached. Once Democrats are back in power, Trump will be impeached. Mass amnesty for illegals. They will grant mass amnesty for illegals, and it will come as sort of like repayment for the trouble they experience with the ICE raids and deportations. They're gonna label it as putting a stop to all the chaos. There will be arrests. And so, and as far as trucking, there will be a continuance of non-domicile CDL drivers on American roadways and foreign drivers, especially if David Rouser gets his non-domicile integrity act bill passed, because it's a terrible bill, and all it really does is safeguard lawful immigrants. So, that's kind of like, what is a lawful immigrant? In his bill, it says a lawful immigrant. And that pretty much allows for, when Democrats are back in power, to make all immigrants lawful. That is their plan, is to make all immigrants lawful. So once you have mass amnesty, and then you have a non-domicile CDL integrity act, which pretty much what he's saying it does is, hey, you have to be in the country legally, and you have to have the proper paperwork and documentations, and then you can get a non-domicile CDL, and then it's law. As opposed to how it's currently, what we found out has happened with non-domicile CDLs. We found out there's people here with orders of removals and here illegally with non-domicile CDLs and expired paperwork. So all his bill would do is say, hey, we clean that up. You become a lawful immigrant, and you have all your paperwork, your H-1 and 2 visas, your work authorizations, green cards, whether you're an asylum seeker, a refugee, or temporary protected status, then you go through the non-domicile CDL process the right way within the law. So that bill does nothing to clean up the roads. And he's pushing it, he's getting support, and you may very well likely see it passed in the very near future. So in light of the recent, pause on the interim rule that bans states from issuing them, that has been paused. We've seen that news has broken yesterday. And I think I was hopeful. I knew with the way these courts system, the judges, the way the federal judges, these district judges have been on their activist bench, I knew that, to prepare for an unfavorable outcome. And they paused it. It's like they didn't issue a ruling or order to stop it. They paused it. I was hopeful that with this new rule, with it going through courts, that it can possibly end up, where it's favorable for American truckers, because it just puts the spotlight, turn up the spotlight on these, illegals and foreigners on our roads, and it would discourage them. But now when you look at it's paused in the courts, you got David Rouser trying to push his bill, and that bill can very, very well become the legalize all non-domicile CDL drivers. And it's just kind of like it says, hey, you don't have the proper paperwork, documentation, green card, or your status, then you don't qualify. Okay, but you still have thousands of drivers on this road from foreign countries. But the judges, what it seems that they're doing is somewhat kind of setting the stage and the framework for mass amnesty. I don't know, it's just weird what these judges are doing. I never thought that, who would have thought that we would find out that the United States judicial system, with these district judges and federal judges, are in place to work against the will of the American people, and that they are almost kind of like the NGO of the judicial system, you know, where they are funding or permitting. When you kind of like set up the groundwork, you kind of set it up for it to happen. It's really nasty what these judges are out here doing. They're clearly un-American, and I would never, it's like we were asleep. We didn't know this was happening. We all fell asleep. We did not know judges were being installed that will use their power of the bench to continue this leftist agenda, leftist globalist agenda. And then Trump, I don't know, man. You know, I voted for Trump, and Trump's my guy. You know, he's gonna be my guy, one of the best president ever. But it's not really looking too good. I don't know what's going on in that administration, but they seem to have turned on the promises, the mandate to the American people. And if not just a turn, they're handling things the wrong way. They're handling the immigration raids the wrong way, because it's becoming like a stain. It's becoming like an embarrassment or like a stain on the administration. When you had favorable approval, you had a high approval with mass deportations at the beginning of the administration. If you continue to go for the worst of the worst, that would have been, you know, still strong approval. But now it's kind of with the media backing the liberals, and they can paint these narratives that people are being disappeared. It's just not looking good. And then the raid, the protests, and the conflicts, you know, even with these people being clearly in the wrong, the media has a way of spinning it like it's the ICE agents. Trump has said he's going to bring us 600,000 Chinese students. It's just looking more and more like globalism, you know, and they didn't really care about these recent elections. You know, they're supposed to be the high IQ people, and they told you to go vote for Cuomo. And they didn't back Winsome Sears in Virginia. And so it just seemed like they didn't really care. And then now you got the midterms coming up, and it's really looking like the right is going to lose the midterms. And quite honestly, if you ask me, the Republicans want to lose the midterms. Like when you look at Senate Republicans and you look at House Republicans, their ineffectiveness and inability to get anything done, or their unwillingness to get anything done, it just kind of like you could just see it. They don't care. They don't like this administration. They're not in favor of what this administration is doing. They're just scared to say it. So what they'll do is they'll do nothing, and then lose the midterms, and they'll let the Democrats enforce their power, their will. Let the Democrats actually act. Because see, the thing is, where Republicans won't act, Democrats will. They've shown us that they're willing to go all the way to assassination, you know, to get their way. And so it's just not looking good, man. I say, man, get ready for mass amnesty. Get ready for third world America. Get ready and get used to living with foreigners and immigrants. They're not going anywhere. And mass amnesty, third world America, and you just have to get prepared for it.